Okay, in this video we're going to talk about the blur, the sharpen, and the smudge tool. To access these tools, they're this little icon right here with the little dropper, or you may see the triangle, or you may see the little finger. Holding down the icon here gives you these options. First we'll start with the blur tool. A lot of these tools are very self-explanatory, but we'll go over them anyway. So blur tool, it takes on the form of whatever brush you have selected. So again, if we choose a custom brush, that's what our blur tool is going to give us. So we'll choose a nice even brush. I'm going to probably make it a little bit bigger. Our image here that we got is of another cat, not my cat, but a cat, and it's rather large. It's at 50% here. Let's see what 100% looks like. Yeah, it's a big one. So and to preserve detail, I guess we'll just go ahead and leave it here at 100% so we can see what we're going on. I'll keep my brush size about 200 here so you can really see what's going on. Now obviously what's going to happen when I start brushing is it's just going to start blurring the image wherever I start brushing. The only other setting we have to deal with up here is it also takes on these specific modes, not all the same modes as the layer modes do, but some modes. So if I drop this down, and the strength means how much is it going to blur. It's right now it's at 50%, it'll do just a 50% of blurring. So it's medium strength. If I bring it all the way up to 100%, it's going to blur it a lot, and as well as we bring it all the way down to 1%. So we'll bring it up to about 50% again. Let me unlock this layer by double clicking and click OK. And now to blur it, we just simply start painting. And as you can see, it started to blur a little bit if we let go, and if we keep going over, it just blurs it more and more as we get going. So now I'll just Control Z to get out of here until it sharpens up good, and we'll show you what it looks like on 100%. So 100% I barely have to do any work to get this thing to start blurring. So it blurs up pretty good and pretty well. A lot of this, you can use this tool a lot for, I don't know, just blending things in. If you drop the strength down a little bit, and if you want to get in tight where something just isn't looking right, just adding a little blur in there can really help smooth a lot of photos out. So just get in there and play with that and see what you can come up with, and have fun with that. So that's the blur tool. I mean, like I said, it's very self-explanatory, but it's a powerful tool, and get used to it. Our next tool is a sharpen tool. Does exactly what blur tool doesn't do. So what that does is, if we'll go over to, it has the same thing as the blur tool does, as strength. How sharp do you want it? How effective do you want the brush? The only one it has here is protect detail. As you see there, it minimizes pixelation while protecting details. So because when you start sharpening things, it can get a little out of hand a lot of the times, and we'll leave it at 50% and see what that does. So we'll go over to maybe some of this blurred up here, and we'll start running around sharpen. You can kind of see that the more I go over this, it gets sharper and sharper. So, but if you sharpen up the things too much, it starts to look real fake and bad. So I try to steer clear of it. Over sharpening, but a little sharpening here and there, it does do good for a lot of pictures. It can, if it's used correctly, it could be a great tool. See, we can get in here and make some of this hair even stand out even more, and it actually was pretty good. If I made my brush a little bigger here and just give this a couple rundowns, it'll sharpen up the fur a little bit. So like I said, it has its uses. So if you find a great use, play with the tool. There's so many options to play with, and so many things do different things, but so many tools do the same thing, but they all do it in a very different way. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but it makes sense in my head, so I hope it does in yours. Alright, so moving on to the smudge tool. Smudge tool is a very fun tool. I use it a lot, actually, when I'm doing just little random things. And maybe I'll give you a quick example of what I use the smudge tool for. But the smudge tool does exactly what it says it does as well. 50% strength, has the same strength as the the sharpen and blur tool. But what it does is just actually pushes the pixels around. So I normally use a smaller brush on this, And if you start pushing with it, you can see how it just drags it out. So 50% strength is actually really, really strong. So if you bump that down a little bit, you can even come in here and now with a little bit less strength, and it doesn't push it out as much, gives it really subtle, a real subtle effect. And you might even be able to use that for, like, I don't know, the cat's eyes a little bit, give it a little swirl in there. If I pump the strength up a little bit, we can probably get a more dramatic look. So like I said, there's totally an unlimited amount of options you have with all these tools. Now the little effect that I was going to show you that I normally do with tools, with the smudge tool is, if I go to a text, this is going to take a second because I have a lot of fonts. But when this loads, I'll show you it's kind of a little flame, I don't know, like a little flame effect that I like. I kind of discovered it on my own. I didn't find it on the internet with a tutorial or anything like that. But it's proven to be pretty effective with some of the other works that I've ever done. We're still loading here on the characters, so just bear with me here. I have way too many fonts. I need to take care of this. I'm going to pause recording until it comes back. How about that? Okay, now that we actually have our characters loaded, I'll go ahead and we'll just, I don't know, we'll leave it at the regular font here, and I'll just type kitty. So, and then we'll go ahead and select this, and then we'll go over the text tool here in a little bit. So don't worry about what I'm doing or what this is all about. And we'll make it a bold, and we'll make it bigger. So now we got kitty. Well, now that puts it in its own layer, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. So there's, oh, I didn't mean to trash it. Duplicate this layer by dragging down to the new one. And if I rasterize this one in the back, I'll speak about rasterizing also. But so now we have two of the same layer. But if I leave the back layer here and I have the back layer selected and go over to the smudge tool and start pushing this out, actually I'll increase the strength a little bit. If I start pushing this out a little bit, it kind of creates these little flames that you have total control over, and you can push them out as much as you want and just kind of give them a little bit of direction and have a lot of fun with it. And you can kind of see where I'm going with that, and how just how much fun this can be and all the potential there. And you can mix colors and do everything like that. And the reason that I put two layers in here is because the one in the back, if I hide this one in the front, it gets really distorted, and when you start smudging it a lot, it starts to really mess up the back layer. So like if I went like that, after a while you might not be able to even tell what it says. So if you leave this one intact, you kind of just get to play with it. Or you could actually do it that way and, you know, make it say kitty except for in your own style. So that is the basic rundown of the Blur, Sharpen, and Smudge tool. And we'll move on to the next video where we're going to talk about these ones down here, the Dodge, Burn, and Sponge tool.